a a transcription of the shorthand notes manuscripts of Helen Schucman, first unproofed draft of the text volume. Uh, the use of miracles as a spectacle to induce belief is wrong. They are really used for and by believers. This goes along with what's in A Course in Miracles, ACIM, as no order of difficulty in miracles. For Jesus of Nazareth at the time, in terms of physical miracles, the raising of Lazarus from the dead was just as easy in that sense as turning water into wine or anything. It's like there's no difficulty of miracles to God Himself. God Himself is a phrase in this book a lot, many times. A miracle more commonly would be thought of as a epiphany of the mind, just joy, peace, goodness, strength, tenderness, love, care, concern, in thought, word, and action, moment to moment, whatever's going on. That would be the general idea of miracle. The sentence here, though, is about the use of miracles as a spectacle to induce belief is wrong. Just what it says, really. Everything is about service. There is no such thing as selfishness. Nothing is ever for the self. Zero selfishness. Like nothing is ever for the self, ever. Like never. Like just never. Period. Everything is for somebody else. So real miracles are never done as a spectacle to induce belief. There's a big picture truth to eternity and infinity and reality. There's a lot to that topic. They are really used for and by believers. Jesus of Nazareth. This is not ACIM, but like for example, during his resurrection moments, his resurrection times, when he appeared after his death and showed himself to small groups and large groups and individuals for a number of times, period of times. He'd show himself and leave, come back, show himself again until he left permanently. So he never appeared to his enemies. The sentence here is, they are really used for and by believers, miracles. Everything is about communal love, care, caring, sharing, truly being on the same page in terms of beliefs. There's a sentence in the book, something about, consummating our joy. Like, I'm paraphrasing, but the sentence in ACIM is, believe similarly and consummate my joy or our joy. So, everyone at some point has to believe the same way God Himself believes, or Jesus of Nazareth, or any perfected being. They have a commonality of thought and belief. So that would be the believers. Those who are not believers, they will be eventually. So they are really, so miracles are really used for and by believers. it's I mean, a miracle is just to further the goodness in every way in terms of everything about furthering goodness, like Jesus of Nazareth's actual physical miracles, just to further the goodness in everything that that means. But it's an eternal type of thing in the sense of every human being is an eternal being. So like whatever happens in the moment, it always has to be put in the context of um, eternity. Um, Infinite patience is an expression in this book about that's what everyone has to have is infinite patience. If you have any doubt or anxiety about anything, don't do it. Practice, live infinite patience. All right, here comes some notes that are very much just, I don't think it's really ACIM. I think it's just very personal Helen stuff. So 10 question mark makes me nervous. 8 and 9, very hard to arrange. I think I understood that as I should, but I'm not sure. I don't think Bill wants this course, and I'm not sure I do either. He is very snappy. I think this is slightly true because something is bothering him. Okay, now we're getting now here we have some capital letters for the word slightly and another word very. This is probably channeled material. So I think this is slightly true because channeled meaning the automatic writing of Helen Schucman. I think this is slightly true, slightly in capitals, because something is bothering him, but he certainly is not very snappy. So why not try to help him instead of blowing it up into an obstruction? He helps you all the time. I resent this question mark, brackets around it. He is supposed to help me, but I resent a reciprocal arrangement because he is a man. Men are supposed to give to me, but this is not possible. Note, I don't always feel this way. It's a danger signal now and just means something's wrong. Anyway, presumably this course is an elective. I maybe not really channeled or automatic writing just because there's some capital letters, words and words with capital letters in it. Okay, I'll just go with this as channeled. I think this is slightly true because something is bothering him, but he certainly is not very snappy. So why not try to help him instead of blowing it up into an obstruction? Um, service all the time. The gospel of Jesus of Nazareth. Again, this is not in ACIM exactly, but the gospel is the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man, which means the will of God and service to others. So it's all that those are the two primary ideas, period. And in eternity, whatever, period. Those are the two primary ideas behind everything we think, say, and do. And, so service is helping others. Okay. All right. That would not be channeled. None of that, whether that's channeled a little bit or not. All right. Here's a statement from ACIM. It's a definite requirement. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean you establish the curriculum. It only means you elect what to take when in capital letters. Same for the word requirement. It is just because we are not ready. It is just because we are not ready to do what we should that time exists at all. Well, this is the introduction to A Course in Miracles. It's coming up here a little bit into Helen's notes. When I talk about this book, I suppose I would simply call it Helen's Notes instead of any fuller title than that. What's it say there? Uh, well, my title is not right there, but anyway, okay. So she thought to herself, presumably this course is an elective, and then the channeled material coming from a spirit being says it's a definite requirement in capital letters. So understanding the ideas, principles in A Course in Miracles is a requirement, according to the author here. I would agree. Um, exactly, exactly what it's saying in terms of the real truth. Um, Everyone has to figure out what that truly means to them in terms of what the real truth is. There is a real truth. Absolutely, there is a real truth about everything, but knowing exactly what the real truth is about anything in any given moment concerning everything, anyone has to determine what that is for themselves. Only the time you take it is voluntary. So this is the introduction to A Course in Miracles. Pretty much, it's not worded exactly like the published copies of ACIM, various published copies, but um, this is a real truth. The time you take to understand this material is up to you. You can play in doing things differently, which result in negative emotions, whether it's guilt, doubt, shame, fear, remorse, anxiety, all of them. Every negative emotion is more or less mentioned at some point or another in ACIM, and there should be none. So, um, if I, you, or anyone is not living up to the ideas in ACIM, a negative emotion is experienced to some degree or another. So that's why it's a required course to understand the principles so that a person is living solely in a phenomenal sense of peace, joy, strength, goodness, tenderness, love, care, consideration, all that. And 100 more words similar to those words. But, obviously what's more important is to live the ideas behind the words or live the definitions of the words. So all those types of ideas have to be lived fully, 100% with none of the negative emotions ever, ever, like period. Free will does not mean you establish the curriculum. It only means you elect what to take when. So God's will is changeless. I don't know how much of this is exactly ACIM versus sort of ACIM as far as what I'm saying, but so God's will is changeless in the sense of perfect joy, perfect peace, perfect strength. None of those negative emotions is who God is in every moment. And he is actively seeking to extend himself as every being in existence, every human on the planet alive, every angel, every being, every spirit being, every being in existence. God is actively seeking to extend himself in terms of his own reality of phenomenal peace, joy, tenderness, goodness, none of those negative emotions. He's trying to extend himself as that to every mind in existence. So that's the curriculum. As far as the understanding, the teaching. So free will does not mean you establish the curriculum. Free will means that you elect to take in God's will as you want to, when you want to, as you want to. That would be what it's saying. That would be a truth to me. There's a lot more to that. I mean, as far as like not exactly ACIM, but is God responsible and a part of all those negative emotions that someone experiences? Yes, in my belief system, there's a reason for lack of perfection in terms of less than holy, joyous, conflict free, deep sense of peace, um, because God is personally participating in what is less than perfection. So, it is actually correct in its own way, but that's not ACIM teaching whatsoever. So, uh, free will does not mean you establish a curriculum. It only means you elect what to take when. When someone decides to live in perfection, um, everyone has to understand what that is for themselves in terms of, the statement by God himself. God did say this. Again, I don't think this is verbatim ACIM, but God himself has said this to human mortals, be you perfect even as I am perfect. But then everyone has to figure out what that is for themselves in terms of everything, moment to moment, and taking everything into consideration, moment to moment. And I mean everything. Like, so, um, and there are many good ideas in ACIM to help anyone attain that state of mind all the time, moment to moment, similar to how Jesus lived his life, especially after his baptism, where he was in nothing but, peace, joy, goodness, strength, tenderness, all that. And he had none of those negative emotions of doubt, fear, confusion, anxiety, remorse, whatever. None of them, zero. With full vitality, vibrancy, confidence, etc., etc. It is just because we are not ready to do what we should that time exists at all. Well, in the published books of ACIM, that sentence does not exactly come after the introduction. And what I read about it's a definite requirement is only part of the introduction. So, anyway, as far as this sentence here, it is just because we are not ready to do what we should that time exists at all. All right, so that is not a literal statement. You, anyone does not control time in terms of um, living in a timeless reality or a timeless state of mind. We do not. What that sentence is saying is live timelessly, in a timeless sense. Jesus, in his public mission, lived in a timeless state of mind, in the proper understanding of what that is. Certainly, his actual physical miracles were timeless in the sense of, someone has a serious affliction, such as being crippled, a very serious physical affliction, and in a moment, that person was no longer afflicted physically. The affliction was completely gone. For example, the man who, pick up your bed and walk, and he picked up his bed and walked. That happened. So you could call that timeless healing in a sense. Uh, um, so, so ready to do what we should. So live morally, perfectly morally, and if someone is living perfectly morally, um, then you or anyone is living in a state of mind of phenomenal sense of peace, joy, no conflicts of any kind. Like the sentence in the manual that says, "Nothing you say contradicts what you think." Like if I state a principle of life about some aspect of life, and I believe in that, and I say that's the truth, then I would never, I, or anyone would never even think the opposite of what the actual truth is about any subject of life, practical, physical things, anything. Everything has a truth to it. And if I say to myself or say out loud, that's the truth about that subject of life, then there would be no thoughts contrary to that belief. That would be living in a timeless state in ACIM ideas. I'm thinking about, what's the sentence? There's a lot of good sentences in this book, of course, but interpret the body solely as a means to join minds is an idea along those lines of, if that's what I say and believe, then that's how I should live. But there's a lot of sentences in ACIM like that. They are certainly coming up in the notes. In the notes here, we've got something about Gene Dixon. I know a little bit. A psychic wrote some books. Gene Dixon. I don't know much about Gene Dixon. I believe it's also in Robert Perry's book. A little bit about it. Anyway, Gene Dixon did any account only to God, dreams, one. So this is all just very personal Helen stuff. It's probably Helen, actually, since it's in bold. This part's in bold. And then when it's the actual channeled material, it's not in bold, but it's listed as ACIM material. So this is really long. Let me see what to say about this. Okay. Dreams. One was of great distress. What I'm saying now is Helen. So, I don't plan to comment on it much. One was of great dreams. One was of great distress. Esther left Amy with us. The us is, and we were. I was very tired after, in which a lot of stress was involved, and wanted to go to sleep. I was trying not to get angry. I think I was aware she's a very good reason for having to go away just then, and I should help her, even though she didn't know the reason. Or maybe her unusual show of and no sense, but really did know the reason, but was hiding it because she didn't want to take credit for it. That's how you see people as they should be. Anyway, the whole dream was one big frustration. Problem, I was not listening. I mean, I'll just say something course related. The word dream is used here in terms of what Helen is writing. The book is absolutely never talking about the physical world not existing. Never. When it talks about dream, there's a couple different definitions for dream, but dream never means that the physical world doesn't exist. And there are other similar terms like illusion in A Course in Miracles. Never do any of these words imply, say, in any way whatsoever that the physical world doesn't exist. Never. There are other definitions for these words like dream, illusion, and such, which is what ACIM is actually saying. Continuing on here with Helen writing out some stuff. The way the Course is giving you. All right, so aside, RE the Course. Yes, indeed. The way, capital WAY, the way the Course is given you, it is quite unusual, but as Bill says, you are not, which is merely a fact. Your experience in your life. Okay, I don't think this is channeled or a material or automatic writing. There was a dream a while back, which I keep forgetting. Long winding, they have in those very big garages, drive cars. They look at, though, they're going round and round. Actually, they're a very efficient means of getting up smoothly. There are no sharp turns. The grade is maximal but not sharp, and has great space economy. Back to the dreams of last night. There was also one, 3 animals. I had to keep them apart. Hated each other, being so busy. This was a great additional strain. One of them was the other two wanted, but the other two, oddly enough, I see the phrase here, kill, about something about whatever, a dream. And ACI, I just want to say about ACIM, it can be very, very graphic in terms of its language of very strong language, graphic. There are many sentences that are very graphic in ACIM to try to get the real truth point across because, ACIM can only use words in sentences to try to get its ideas across. So sometimes it goes very, very graphic to try to get a key idea across, not necessarily literal. But again, those types of sentences will be coming up in these notes. Anyway, oddly enough, I was quite sorry for different ways I felt, because I thought this an improvement on the recurrent dream, grieving. That's right now. Feeling very guilty, but never saying it. Well, the word guilty is used here in terms of what Helen is writing. I would say the guilt feeling, remorse, is probably the strongest negative emotion. Feeling what real guilt is. There's a word stronger than remorse. I'm not recalling it immediately, but extreme remorse might be the strongest of the negative emotions, and absolutely want to stay away from that, but absolutely want to stay away from the merest care is a phrase in this book. The merest frown, slightest care, no anxiety, doubt, none, zero. And then all the emotions have, I don't know, some feel worse than others in terms of the negative emotions. So continuing on here, Rockwell, yeah, this is definitely not book material, all this stuff. She liked the term and thought it was just right. This is just Helen writing some things out in between channeling. He is very interesting. Went by emotions, usually denied them. Blind spots, denials. We all knew gentle. The odd thing, Rockwellians. And I think all of us believed in the unconscious. I think we were all one together under his direction or teachership, and something we owe him a lot. Both good and bad would help him now as a way out of the bad and a means of strengthening the good. Last program was about a child on it seems that I saw and suspected some sort of rather obscure problem. I willing to go on record medical thing, and I thought Gates would disapprove. Well, again, I'll just say something since she using the word medical here. ACIM teaching. There should be absolutely no physical sickness and no mental upsetness in any way ever. That's the teaching. I mean, there's a lot of sentences in the book about physical sickness, and of course mental distress of any kind. It has a lot to do with the focus on things. I mean, if focus on beliefs. If I'm not a victim in any way, I am not a victim of the world I see. There's a sentence in this book: I am deprived of nothing. I am responsible for what I see. In like Seth of Jane Roberts. Seth Speaks and Other Books by Jane Roberts. The phrase would be probably, or one of the phrases is, I create my own reality through the nature of my beliefs. So 100% acceptance that I'm creating everything that's going on is absolutely necessary to understanding that a person should never be physically sick. But there's a lot to the topic, I suppose. In ACIM, it talks about it a lot, so it'll be coming up. But I say there are key ideas that can be used to understand that there should be no physical sickness ever. And certainly one of those key ideas is I am not a victim in any way, like zero victim mentality. When I felt an obligation to the child, called MD, letter in return saying the physician was very grateful. Okay, so 30 minutes? Ah, that's plenty. Coming up is more, ACIM material, so